Alderman Coles.
Here.
Alderman Lazaro.
Here.
Alderman Shockey.
Here.
Alderman Sizmarsky.
Here.
Alderman Eugene Wesley. Here. Alderman Roy Wesley.
Here.
Alderman Winger.
Here.
Alderman Woods.
Here.
Mayor Police.
Here. We begin tonight with a public hearing regarding the electric power aggregation plan of governance and operation for the city of Wooddale in accordance with Illinois law. The notice of this public hearing was printed in the Daily Herald newspaper on 2 occasions. The certificate of publication is maintained in the records of this matter. A referendum was passed on April 5th, 2011, authorizing the city of Wooddale to adopt an ordinance and governance plan to aggregate electrical loads for residential and small commercial retail customers within the corporate limits of the city as an opt-out program. Under the opt-out program, the city would procure competitive pricing on behalf of accounts proposed to be aggregated upon award of the bid. All applicable bid accounts would be moved. However, individual customers would have the option to opt out of the aggregation for whatever reason. The purpose of the hearings is to obtain input on the plan of operation and governance for applicable residents and small businesses within the city. Mr. Murmas is going to provide us with an overview of the plan. Mr. Murmas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As the mayor had stated, yes, indeed, on April 5th, the voters of Wooddale did approve a referendum question that would allow the city to negotiate lower electric rates on their behalf. As part of that process, the city has required to hold 2 public hearings. Tonight is the first of those meetings. There will be another public hearing on August 18th. After that second public hearing, the city can then move forward trying to get these lower rates for residents. While rates need to be bid out, there's no guarantee of lower rates. Residents are guaranteed that their rates would not be higher than they currently are now with ComEd. Residents need not opt into the cheaper rates as they will automatically be included if the rates are indeed cheaper. Residents won't notice a change in billing format and would still call ComEd for any service issues. With timing restrictions, these new rates, if cheaper, wouldn't become available to Wooddale residents until this coming fall. From previous bid results in other towns, we can expect to see somewhere in the ballpark of up to 25% savings for Wooddale residents. And that is all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, anyone interested in addressing the city council regarding the plan of operation and governance may do so at this time. Please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. Okay. Yes, sir. To the podium.
My name is David Hoover, and I am the director of NIMEC and working with the city on this effort. And I just wanted to kind of acknowledge that Wooddale is one of 19 communities in Illinois who have passed the referendum and have the opportunity to get a second look at rates for Commonwealth Edison to see if we can beat the Commonwealth Edison rates. So I commend you for being out front on this, and we're hopeful if we continue to do what we've seen with other communities that the residents will be able to have a little rate relief with the same quality of service, same billing, and same ComEd to repair their billings. So I just wanted to, again, acknowledge the fact that you guys are out front on this in the communities, and if you had any questions, I'd be glad to address them, but thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? Can we get a business card for her, please? There being no further public comment, oh, I'm sorry, Dan. I didn't see your hand up. Alderman Shockey.
To go along with what we're talking about, our electric bill that we would have paid through ComEd was over $10,000, and the bill we're paying to Integri's Energy Services is $8,600. So, like as our manager said, we are saving about 25% the city is. Thank you.
Any further comments? All right, there being no further public comment, the hearing shall be adjourned. The second hearing required by law shall be held at 7:30 PM, August 18, 2011, at which time the public may again be heard on this matter. I will now entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Do I have a motion? Who's the first? Eugene? Frank's second. Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
That passes. Next, I'd like to call to order the city council meeting of August 4th. Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Here.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Here.
Alderman Coles,
Here.
Alderman Woods,
Here.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Here.
Alderman Shockey,
Here.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Here.
Alderman Lazara,
Here.
Mayor Police.
Here. Quorum present, please join us in I pledge allegiance.
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next is the approval of minutes for the city council meeting of July 7th, 2011. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll
A
second it.
Any questions, comments, corrections? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Abstain.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
That passes. Next up, citizens to be heard on matters not listed on the agenda. Do we have any? I have no written communiques. Under mayor's report, just to remind everybody, Prairie Fest is next week, Thursday, August 11th through Sunday, August 14th. Carnival rides, music, food, good time for the whole family. Next up, I just wanted to commend the staff for a quick response during the 6-inch rainfall we had on the evening of February 22nd or the morning of the 23rd. Job well done. City manager's report is next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for stealing two of my reports. So I'll go on into my other reports. The city's final movie in the park this Saturday, August 6th. The movie airing will be Cars. We also have, staff has a meeting set up with our ComEd External Affairs rep to discuss the ongoing infrastructure concerns and potential improvements for Wooddale. That's coming up on August 23rd. I will keep you up to date as to what happens at that meeting. Myself and John Kramer and Mr. Stefan have been trying to lay some extreme pressure on ComEd to get somewhere, so we'll let you know what happens with that. And there also will be a citywide mosquito spraying, weather permitting, Wednesday, August 10th. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Murmas. Next is consent agenda. We only have one item on the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the Deer Path Road reconstruction pay request partial?
I'll make a motion.
Second motion.
Hold on, can I read the rest, please? Partial number 2, Swallow Construction Corporation, $270,685.57. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Second motion.
Questions, comments, corrections? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next up, committee chairman reports, planning, zoning, and building. Alderman Coles. Nope,
Oh, wrong.
Sorry.
Wrong one.
I was looking.
That's okay.
Alderman Winger, sorry.
I have no report.
Public health, safety, and judiciary. Alderman Coles.
I have one report. I'm making a motion to resolve authority to executive
of the intergovernment agreement between the City of Wooddale and O'Hara Noise Commission. This has to be done every year.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Bond has a little clarification on this
Yeah,
one.
you've got on your agenda the item for the intergovernmental agreement. You'll be voting on that to approve it. I would just ask that the mover and the seconder include and incorporate in that motion that it's directing the attorney and staff to prepare a resolution authorizing the execution of that agreement and to bring that to the council at the next council meeting. You are voting on the approval of the agreement at this time, along with that direction, if the mover and seconder accept.
You accept, Alderman Seconder? Mr. Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Wood?
Wait.
Question.
Go ahead.
On this, we don't do this every year.
No.
Okay, why is this coming to us? Because according to the way I look at, there's a couple areas in Chicago is joining it, or?
Mr. Murmas.
There's actually some additions in Chicago, you are correct. And if there's ever a change in the intergovernmental agreement, us being a member of the organization has to ratify that intergovernmental agreement. We've done it, I think, twice before for changes. So we don't do it every year, we do it if there's a change to the membership.
So all these towns ratify it too?
Any further questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman Shockey?
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Lazara?
Yes.
That passes. Next,
I have one more thing that isn't on the agenda. I've been getting a letter from some lady about the parking that's on Oak Meadow Drive by the corner of Edgewood and Oak Meadow Drive. There's a spot there that has white lines with, it don't say no parking, but further down the street where Woodside is, has no parking in it. And this is causing a dangerous corner. And I talked to the police department, a couple of patrolmen that were in there, and they said there's nothing they can do because it has no signs up or anything. So I just want to bring it to the council that we have people that are parking over there that are going to cause an accident sooner or later. It's going to be a bad one because it's going to slam into parked cars. So you can't see the cars coming from the west when they park cars ahead of there. And I've been over there several times, and I've seen 4 cars there. I've seen trucks there and everything. So it's a corner. I just want to let everybody know, and I told the lady that I would announce it today. This is the 3rd time she sent me a letter. So maybe we can get something done.
can we pass it down here? We'll give it to the manager. Alderman Roy Wesley?
Yeah, I'll give you both pieces of paper.
Isn't Oak Meadows Drive a county street, or is that Wooddale?
What?
That's our area.
Meadow Drive? Sure it's truck.
Isn't it,
Pickup trucks.
isn't Oak Meadows Drive a county road or township?
It's half county and half Wooddale.
We'll have staff look into it.
Okay, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
That concludes your report.
That concludes my report.
Next, Public Works, Alderman Eugene Wesley.
I'll make a motion to approve pay request number 3 to A-Lam Concrete Construction Incorporate, replacement for the not to exceed $259,552.15. That is my motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
I believe that water main is completed, by the way.
I'll second it. That's on Addison Street, right?
Any comments, questions?
Yeah. That's all right, no, that's,
Roll call.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
yes,
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
That passes. Next.
Item number 2, a purchase request to rebuild belt filter press, number 1, North Wastewater Treatment Plant, not to exceed amount of $125,000. That is a motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Any questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes,
Alderman Woods,
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Yes.
That passes.
Item number 3, approved for the work order awarded to design and engineer service for the Wooddale Road decorated lights to Baxter and Woodman for an amount not to exceed amount of $46,275. That is a motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions?
We buried.
Alderman Lazara.
I thought we buried this in a prior meeting.
It was
About-
tabled.
Was it?
It was tabled.
It was tabled? And, I mean, I have an objection for this because I thought that we were not going to do these decorative lights. So I'm not sure why this is back up to it again.
Mayor?
Go ahead.
Yeah, it was budget item and CIP project to move forward with them. That's why it's back up, and no one gave us directions which way they want to go with this. That's why it's back on agenda,
Okay.
so. We tabled it, but no one gave us directions, so I asked that be put in because I want to move. We do move forward, we don't. Take your choice.
Alderman Woods.
How many lights are we putting up?
It's roughly 3,000 feet. It needs to be designed first. Originally, when these lights were put in, it was all designed in-house by our existing engineering staff. Right now, we don't have the capability or the expertise to do it in-house. So the contract that you have before you is not only for the design, but for the construction engineering for those lights as well, and the electrical inspection. In the past, when we put those lights in, we only contracted out for the electrical inspection and a portion of construction supervision because we had in-house engineering staff. So I can't answer you how many lights they're going to be because it needs to be designed. I know that the last stretch we did, which was 800 feet, there were 14 lights, 7 aside. It's going to be the same nominal spacing. So you're probably looking at 20 lights per 1,000 feet. So, it could be in the upwards of 50 lights because when we're going north and south of both locations, there's more intersections. So you're not going to have the same spacing that you would at the stretch that we were on just south of Wooddale Road, which was the last section that was put in. From Irving to Oakwood was the last section that was put in.
Are any of these going to be close to intersections, side street intersections? Part of the question is, can we add street signs to them? Can we add the banner hangers to them while we're doing this whole process?
Mr. Kramer.
These streetlights are significantly lower than the banners that are hung on the Irving Park aluminum poles. Those are 40-footers. These are not that height. These were basically intended as a decorative light. We do have wreaths that we put on them and garland and lights during the Christmas months. Most of the intersections that are already in place have ComEd wood poles at those locations. As of right now, we're not proposing on removing those because, again, these lights are a lot lower. The intention of these lights, from my understanding, when they were originally put in, was decorative and sidewalk lighting, not so much intersection lighting that you gain by having the 40-foot with the 8 to 14-foot arm stretching out into the intersection. So if that's something that the council wants us to look at, we can go back to the drawing board, but I don't know if it would match the aesthetics of what's currently out there.
Alderman Woods, any further?
No, that's it, just information. Thanks.
Alderman Lazara.
John, do you know what each light cost us approximately?
Mr. Kramer.
This is for the design. I don't have the numbers on what they cost us before. I want to say, and again, this depends on how far the control cabinet, because you have to factor that in, the length between the control cabinet. If you were just buying a light, $2,500 to $4,500, somewhere in that neighborhood would be the pole and the light. Again, you'd have to power it up. So not giving you the full price for the underground work, installation, and the control cabinet as well. That would have to be factored in. That all depends on wire size, length, run. I would hate to try and step on Mr. Steffen's toes or any other engineer by quoting prices, but just the light itself, $2,500 to $4,500.
Alderman Wesley, go ahead. You got a question?
I know you don't want to step on Al Steffen's toes, but why isn't he given this report then?
Mr. Kramer.
Don't we have, because we have an engineer.
Because it's my project and it falls under Public Works, and I haven't turned the design over to Baxter and Woodman yet.
Seems like you get all the projects, so, okay.
Alderman Coles.
To the new people, them lights are, whenever we have a project, a big project, we have them put in, if you go down Potter Street, you'll see them over there where they're building the houses over there. And the bank, the new bank of Wooddale, we made them put the lights up. So them lights are sort of our part of our, sort of our Prairie Fest thing. So in case you're wondering, you'll see them on some of the places where we rebuilt someplace and they put them up on the buildings. So that's one of the reasons why we're staying with that type of light. That's all I wanted to say.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley?
Yes.
Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Sizmarsky?
Yes.
Alderman Shockey?
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley?
Yes,
Alderman Lazara?
Motion passes. Next. Item, Mr. Wesley.
Item number 4, to approve Addison Road change order number 1, incorporate of Edgewood, Hemlock, Ash, water main replacement, Bayline concrete construction, not to exceed $250,000. Again, this was a budget item that these to be replaced
Two of them are.
in this year's budget, so
Is that your motion?
that is my motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Questions? Just have one. John? Or clarification. Actually, 2 of those are budget items. Ash was not, correct?
Absolutely correct. Ash is more of a emergency repair. I'll phrase it as that. I phrase it as my memo. It's currently sufficing as a water main. Again, it's broken 7 times within the last 18 months. I don't really want to dig up the same spot next to Ready Electric. No one's in there now, but it is a interruption to those business owners along there, as well as problematic during, obviously, that's one of the only train crossings in town. I would like to remain it safe, and the possibility of having a main break next to the train track scares me.
Okay. And I did have a couple of questions that, about the engineering, why this happened, why it didn't go out for bid and whatnot, and we had a little, between that, losing our engineering department and Mr. Steffen and his group coming on. That's why this is not the normal business procedure. But we also are getting 3 water mains in the price of 2, right? Mr. Kramer.
Actually, far less than that. And just to recap, originally, you are correct. 2 water mains were due to be designed in-house last year. Project never got completed, never got touched. quite frankly, I had larger fish to fry and it fell to the back of the cabinet. And this year we decided we would field design it, meaning we're not going to a full design. So we're saving several $1,000s by doing that. We have the ability to do that because we're really not upsizing these mains in large part. It's basically a direct replacement. They're relatively simple. They're on dead end streets. Again, this is really just reliability for our own systems. Currently, all those residents receive good water pressure and, for the most part, reliable service. It's more, we know the age of the pipes. We know they need to be replaced. And this came about that we got some very good pricing on a previous contract. And in looking at getting the best pricing, if we combine both projects, we were in the neighborhood of $350,000 in a CIP line item for those two water mains. We're getting these, in essence, 3 water mains done for $250,000 plus the nominal cost for the engineering, for the construction engineering portion of it, which will still have Baxter and Woodman involved in that. But that was part of a larger construction engineering supervision agreement that we did when we did Deer Path.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Woods. Yes. Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Motion passes. Next item.
Item number 5, approve the equipment purchase of end loader mountain snow plower to MCAN Construction in amount of $119,498.28. That is my motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Questions? Alderman Shockey.
Yeah, we had tabled this, I think, before to get more information on it, if I'm not correct.
Mr. Kramer.
Snowplow.
To my knowledge, it was not tabled. We brought it up for a discussion. Staff was asked to bring it back and ask if it could be bid again. And that was approved, as I recall, and that's why you have it before you. We went out to bid, competitive bid process, and only one of the companies chose to bid of the 2 that make a similar unit, and this is the results of that bid.
I appreciate your putting in the pictures this time, so we know what it looks like. On page 3, that big alert sign, does that go along with it?
For you, Alderman Shockey, absolutely.
No, I'm serious. This is going to be on the front end of a truck, and this is going to be blowing the snow, and can you see over the thing from the truck?
Mr. Kramer.
This looks like a huge unit.
It's actually mounted on the front of a front-end loader. So if you've seen our front-end loader, the cab actually sits roughly about 9 foot off the ground. That's where the operator sits. So you have very good site clearance. It's basically no higher than a large 3-yard bucket on our current end loader. So there is some excellent visibility, almost better than visibility on a large truck with a plow.
May I continue?
Go ahead, Mr.
How often do you say this will be used?
I would like to see it used anytime we have over either 10 inches of snow or we have repetitive snows where we have upwards of 12 to 14 inches at the curb and we can no longer push it farther back. So I'd like to see it used pretty much anytime we have repetitive snowstorms or anything over, several inches of snow.
Go ahead, Mr. Shockey.
You've been complimented a number of times about staff snow removal. And now we're asking for a large piece of equipment that's very expensive. I'm just wondering, do we, at this point in time, with the economy as it is, I would think we want to keep our spending to things that are necessary. And this wasn't necessary in the past, and I'm just wondering if it's really worthwhile spending that kind of money for a snow plow that attaches to a truck. I don't see the necessity of it at this point with this economy. I really don't.
Mr. Kramer, you want to comment? Otherwise, Alderman Woods?
On the price, $119,498 and 28 cents. Says that it's a 2-year lease at $59,191.64 a year, of which after that we buy it out for $1. If you do the math, that only comes up to $115,000, which is less than the purchase price. Is it a 2-year lease or a 3-year lease?
Mr. Kramer?
2-year lease.
How does that come out less than the purchase price?
I can check my calculations. It was $59,000 a year, plus there is a,
It was just, my main question is it really 2-year lease and we buy it for $1 after 2 years, or is it a 3-year lease? Which makes it, obviously different, round numbers, one's 120,000 and one's 180.
I know the first payment is due the moment we purchase it. The second payment is due 1 year after that. There is and Mr. Wilson may have the correct term for this, but there's a filing fee for that lease portion, which I believe was in the neighborhood of $600 or $700. That was on top of that. There's a 5% spiff or the percentage charge for that, and that was factored into those lease terms. When I originally did the bid, I wrote it as a bid straight for the unit, paying it all in one lump sum. And then I put in 2 extras, one for an Arctic fluids kit, which basically was alternate 2, where I said it needed to have fluids capable of going down to 40 below. Then number 3 was a 2-year lease, and item 4 was a 4-year lease. So that's how I had it broken out. After speaking with Mr. Wilson, we opted for the 2-year lease because it was in the neighborhood just under $60,000. I don't particularly like lengthy lease terms. When I got here, we had several lease payments upwards of 5 years, and we've actually gotten done with all those on various trucks. It was, to be very honest, quite time consuming to keep track of what was paid, what wasn't, and making sure that the city didn't make a double payment or something was not done right. So again, I would rather go with the 2-year lease, and I can come back to you with the pricing and give you a better breakout. I don't believe that the numbers are incorrect. I think I may have either transposed something or written something incorrectly. I know that is the total figure, the 119, because that was spelled out in the bid price for the 2-year lease with the dollar buyout.
Okay, no, that's good enough. I mean, in one spot it said 2-year lease, the other spot it said 3-year lease. I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page, and it was 119,000. Thank you.
Any other questions? Roll call.
Alderman Weir?
Yes.
Alderman E. Wesley? Yes. Alderman Coles?
Yes.
Alderman Woods? No. Alderman Sizmarsky?
No.
Alderman Shockey?
No?
Alderman R. Wesley?
No.
Alderman Lazara? No.
Motion fails.
Fails.
And that concludes your report, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's in my report, Mayor.
Next, Finance and Administration, Alderman Shockey.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Next item is other business. Mr. Murmas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I actually forgot one item in my report. I'm going to defer to Mr. Stefan, who was probably cursing me out over there for forgetting.
Mr. Stefan.
Thank you. No, I wouldn't curse you out. Just thought I'd give you a little highlight of some of the things and activities that are occurring right now and what we're trying to accomplish to give everybody a brief update. Obviously, as you heard, the construction projects are moving ahead. Elmhurst Road is closed out. Deer Path is fairly well along, as well as Addison Road. In our design and study area, we are working on the rate study as well as the alleys. The alleys were, we received the agreement to move ahead with that last month. The target right now is to get that out to bid by August 31st so that we can bring that before the council September 1st with the results to move ahead with that project. The water and sewer rate study, we've collected all the data from the city staff. We have started looking into the analysis of the rates and where we are at. In particular, we are looking at the allocations as to the appropriate funding of the water fund and the sewer fund to make sure that the both of them are both enterprise funds, and we are collecting enough money to sustain those funds as directed. Secondly, we are looking at the funding of the wastewater treatment plant. And in that, we are looking at the analysis of how to fund that, the Phase 1A and 1B. In particular, the concern is that with the IEPA low-interest loan fund, those funds will not be available until the following year. To do that, we will be looking at and running analysis on funding it with cash. We are going to look at it bonding that amount as well as looking at a combination thereof. Phase 1B will be strictly using or projecting to use the IEPA low interest loan funds based on our conversations with IEPA. So that's the analysis that we're in the process of completing, and we will be coming back before you in the month of September to share with you the results, the preliminary results, so that we can continue on with those discussions. In addition to that, just as a real brief cursor, we are also pursuing funding for stormwater. Initially, we were pursuing Ike grant monies for the buyout program. We have found that those funds are somewhat depleted. However, we did find that there are plenty of funds in the hazard mitigation program. We are pursuing $2 to $2.5 million. It's a 70% cost sharing, where they pick up the 70, we pick up the 30. But we are actively pursuing that and putting that together and working with the lobbyist, Mr. Marquardt, on that issue. We are also pursuing and will be submitting for an SDP Mill Street application. That is a $600,000, a projected $600,000 program, of which, again, that would be also 70%. But that is considered an SDP application. And last but not least, we have already our applications in to IEPA for that low interest loan funds. I think last year, outstanding of the stimulus program, the current rate is somewhere between 2.5 and 2.75%. So we have those applications in for the Irving Park Irving Park Water Main Project, which is $6 million plus, as well as Thorndale, which is $2.7 million. Not to mention the sanitary sewer or the wastewater treatment plant, but that was submitted by H.R. Green. So I wanted to give you a brief cap of what we are doing and what we are pursuing. I guess, are there any questions?
Alderman Winger.
Thank you. Thank you for the update. And firstly, the 70-30 cost share for the hazardous buyouts. How far along are we into that where it might happen? And then secondly, will you be able to give us a couple months warning so we can start planning on how we're going to manage to that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we have started negotiations. We are working with community development in preparing some documentation to pursue that. We've targeted several properties that would be applicable. And once we have that information, we'll be submitting that or reporting back to you.
But like how far down the road do you expect that we would hear back, yes or no?
I think that will probably be within 6 months to a year.
Thank you.
Alderman Woods.
Somewhat unrelated, but is there an update or what happened to the bridge lighting? On Irving Park Road?
The bridge lighting is still somewhat hung up over at IDOT. However, the lights have been ordered. And so that the funds will be used or can be allocated so that they do not need to be returned. So that will be moving along.
Good, thanks.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Al, first question is, do you know anything about the Cook County Friends of the Forest Preserve, what's going on with the Bussy Woods up there?
Are you referring, yeah, to the Bussy Woods? Actually, I talked to the engineer for Elk Grove Village, and he had indicated that they are still working on some of the basic assumptions and agreements. I think if I understand you correctly, that is where we shared in the cost with some of the other communities in the area, pursuing some kind of model or study that they can implement of modifying the elevation of Bussy Woods. They are a firm, John Wills, is to be studying that. I think the scope is ultimately going to be determined by, and the lead agency is Elk Grove Village, and they're still working on some of the terms, is the last I have heard, and that was probably about 3-4 weeks ago.
Continue.
Do they have an approximate time of when they're going to be finished with that project? Because my next question's about Sauk Creek Reservoir.
That's fine. I will get a little bit, something more definitive. It's still kind of somewhat nebulous out there. But I'll get something and email that over to you.
Alderman Wesley, go ahead.
We didn't get a report back from the county yet, I understand. Is that correct?
We have not heard back from them specifically as to lowering the elevation. However, in the last rainfall event that we did meet, or we did have several conversations with Chris Vonneby and some of his other staff, we are in the process of trying to coordinate a meeting with Itasca as well as with the county to discuss this and emphasize our concerns with a greater emphasis.
Continue, go ahead.
I take it Wooddale will be in that conversation too?
Yes, I'm meaning us, meaning Wooddale.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I did talk to the mayor of Itasca, and it is concern to him, and his concern to us, and is the residents' reservoir, and that's why I'm.
Yes, absolutely. And Mr. Kramer and Mayor Prine and myself did have a brief conversation last week about that, and that he is very receptive and very anxious of meeting with us and talking to us a little bit more about what the opportunities and what points we want to stress as far as the operations of the Wooddale Itasca Reservoir.
Thank you.
One comment on that. When Mr. Vonnemy was here, he said a couple of months, and that would be somewhere end of August, mid-September. We still on that timeline, or are we going to have a meeting before that with them? Where are you going to want?
I'm anticipating that we'll have a meeting sometime in the beginning of September. I think it would be advantageous to have a meeting with the Village of Itasca first, so that we can collectively discuss it and make sure that we're talking the same things. And so we're in the process of trying to schedule that meeting.
All right. Alderman Shockey was next. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Mill Road project you're talking about, I assume that goes from George Street to Montrose, or where?
It goes from, the limits of that project are from the expressway to the south to George Street to the north.
Okay, just to keep in mind that Itasca does own part of that street, so we might want to bring them in on their portion of it. And I guess we can't get the Forest Preserve to take up part of it as well, but because we had to pay for the whole sidewalk on our side.
Okay.
Thank you.
Duly noted, thank you.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
Was that a sidewalk grant you're going for on Mill Road?
On
Or
Mill,
was that a-
that's a reconstruct,
Oh,
or
that's
resurfacing.
That's a resurfacing, not
Yes.
sidewalks.
Alderman Shockey, go ahead.
I'm just saying that we paid for the whole sidewalk before, and it was kind of strange we had to pay for the whole thing ourselves.
One other thing.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
The thing with the Elk Grove with the Bussy Wood thing, we would like to see a copy of that report, because us as council members did vote to fund some of that project up there for the engineering. And I don't want them to make the final decision what they're going to do with it, because if we have some money involved in here, we got the right to see their engineer report. Even though they're the lead agency, we still forked money over to them.
Mr.
Yes, I
Stefan.
agree, and as it stands, the whole thing transpired based on a study by Northwestern University, and that was what kicked that whole concept off. And the village of Elk Grove Village has determined that, while this could have some benefits, and the Friends of the Forest Preserve, the Cook County Forest Preserve, had indicated that they would be receptive with that idea. They need to do the modeling, and that's John Wills will be, from what I understand, was the one that made the presentation to implement that model. The terms and the extent of that model is what they're debating. And so once they take that, we get that information and that model. But I'd also got a request in for the information from Northwestern University to understand the specifics, because it's a little modification from what was previously asked by the county.
Okay. Next is approval of list of bills. Alderman Shockey.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion on the list of bills for 8-4. The general fund, $201,342.60. The road and bridge fund, $635.82. Tourism fund, $10,795.74. Narcotics fund, $458.60. The capital projects, $24,321.56. The equipment replacement fund, $140,000. Community parking lot fund, $2,173.39. The water and sewer capital projects, $276,852.07. And the water and sewer fund itself, $132,273.81, and the grant fund of $1,775, for a total of all funds of $790,628.59.
And that's your motion? Second?
Second.
On the question, Alderman Eugene Wesley.
I have two questions. On page number 1, Irving Park, Wooddale Road grade separation. What have we seen for that money?
Mr. Murmas.
I thought we were done.
I believe I did I have been putting progress reports in the weekly packets, and it does list the tasks that were done for the period. It does seem like it extends on forever. I know we've talked about this a number of times. It seems to never end. I do believe there's light at the end of the tunnel. I actually have a Phase 2 contract to review, so I mean that means Phase 1 is almost complete. It's really just cutting through a lot of paperwork with the entities that are involved. Nothing to do with our engineering firm. Just a lot of entities need to sign off on this. Project's been going on probably for 10 years. So it was quite a big project.
You had one more?
Yeah,
Alderman
we
Wesley?
have one more. The other item, the other one is on page 4. Now, I have a hard time, I'm sorry, not page 4. I'm sorry. Page 17. I really have a hard time paying this bill for $3,360 to Strand. Due to the fact is that our engineer had to take the leadership of this to finish this project off. For $3,000, I get the invoice here, they charge me, $314, $1,600, $413, they charge us $240, comes out to $18. Total bill for the date was $14,180.
$1,400.
$1,400. I'm sorry, 14. So my concern about this is, why are we going to pay them $3,360 when they dragged their feet on this project? And you know what? I think that should be called back to us, because we had pay our engineer, even though they in-house, take over the leadership to get this project completed, to buy the lights and get this thing done. I think that should be given back to us, and they forfeit the 3,000 and see where we go from there. But we double paid on this bill somewhere down the line. If we didn't pay it with Strand, we paid it with Baxter and Woodman. Okay, so I will be voting no for the bills unless this is taken out. So,
Mr. Kramer.
Originally, when this contract was done, Mr. Graff and several engineers at Strand met, and they came up with a preliminary design. The preliminary design went to IDOT, got preliminary approval. We then were working without a contract with Strand. They completed their preliminary design. We brought them to this council. Everyone made changes. There was discussion of the railing. There were discussion of how many lights. There was discussion of the type of lights. We then sent them back to come up with proposals, estimates, change the design. All that they completed and gave us those documents back. They wanted us to sign another engineering contract for final design plans. City manager and myself decided that was not the direction we wanted to go. Then at that point, Baxter and Woodman came on board to help us out with the remainder of it. City council did not, staff, myself, gave them direction to investigate these other lower design possibilities. No railing, only lights, not the sidewalk improvements on either side. So again, if anyone is to be blamed on this, it would be me for giving direction, not for Strand for billing us. They did the work that I asked them to do.
Mr. Bond.
Yeah, and the city has an obligation, if the city contracted with these individuals, whether the performance was, as long as the performance was done, and it sounds like they've done what they were contracted to do, the city has an obligation to pay for those services.
Alderman Wesley.
how much is left on this contract with them? According to this, the contract amount was 27,000. Total bill to date is 14,000.
If I understood right, we didn't have a contract, right, John?
Correct. That contract was never signed for $27,000.
So what was this contract finally signed for?
The original contract was $12,000 to $15,000 and was completed. This $3,600 was the amount over that $12,000 that they did extra work. We never signed a $27,000 contract. That was never signed.
So after,
We're
clarify
done.
me, after we pay this bill, we have nothing to do with
Mr. Kramer.
in this project's over.
As far as this project is concerned, correct, they are done.
Any other questions? Alderman Woods.
What other projects are they on?
Mr. Kramer.
They have been working on the South Plant and Public Works generator replacement project for close to a year now. The South Plant transfer switchgear is being installed right now, and they have the inspection on that, as well as the Public Works installation of the generator. Both of those should be done by fall of this year, October, November. Then they have, the second phase of the project is actually to replace the generator at South Plant next year. There's not a lot of engineering in that. Basically, they're putting in a big skid, which is a generator. So the bulk of the heavy lifting of the engineering work's been done by them.
Thank you.
Anything further? Roll call.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Wesley,
No.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Woods. Yes. Alderman Sizmarsky,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes.
Alderman R. Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Lazara.
Motion passes. Next, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session for review of official minutes, probable litigation, collective bargaining, and personnel. Do I have a motion?
Yes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned.